Hello, I'm Louise Jensen and I'm joined today by my son Kai. And the reason I wanted to chat to Kai today is because I was speaking to a friend on the phone a couple of days ago about how concerned I am about Kai's education and financial position, being a university student. And she said, "Oh, I read in the paper everything's switched to online learning. I didn't know there was a problem. I thought it was okay." And it's not okay, is it, Kai?
No, not even a little bit, especially not for my course, which is entirely practical.
Yeah, let's start with your course because, as you said, yours is a practical course and it's not easy to switch to online learning. So, when you enrolled in media production 3 years ago now, what did you think you would be doing?
So each year is slightly different, and you build on the skills from the previous year. So rather than going through the whole 3 years, I just focus on what I'm doing now, which is this year we've got a module for documentary making where we go out and make two documentaries. We've got a post-production module where we will make sort of a trailer or introduction to a film, and then we have more sort of control over the second module with what we're doing there. With sort of you can make another introduction to a film, I believe, or like a lyric video, or just something within After Effects anyway. And then there is a entrepreneurship module where we sort of taught how you go about creating your own business. And then we have our final project, which is instead of a dissertation, which we completely control what we want to do for that one.
So, that's a lot of making stuff, which
Yeah,
presumably you assume that you'd have access to the studio in the university and all the specialist equipment you need.
yeah.
What are you actually doing?
So, I mean, that's the thing, is that if we've got to do that exact thing still, there's been no sort of change in everything. With sort of my final project, it's fine because I managed to build that whole module myself to do something that I knew I'd be capable to do whatever the state of lockdown we're in. But I've got friends on the course that now can't do what they wanted to do originally and are halfway in and are stuck. Entrepreneurship is fine because it's one of those things where you just need a laptop really to do. Um, but for making a documentary or especially the post-production stuff, where something like a green screen would be so useful to go in and use that studio space which was advertised to us when we were joining the uni. Um, and there's also, we can rent out equipment from the uni. I found out in the last week that actually I can go and access some of that equipment because I'm on campus, but that's been so unclear the whole way throughout because certain lecturers will tell you nobody can go at all. Certain ones will say unless you're on one of the health and medicine courses because it's essential, only then can you go and get certain equipment. And if you go onto the website where you can book out equipment, it's really unclear even then. It was only because one of my lecturers had spoken to the people that run the loaning. They found out that actually I would have access to it if I go and email in this really specific way, which there's no way I would have found out on my own.
Okay, so it hasn't been clear. So, as well as the stuff that you're supposed to be making, there's a lot of face-to-face lectures and labs. And in your second year, going back to January 2019 and February, there were lecturer strikes.
Yeah,
And then we went into March and straight into lockdown, which has affected the last year. So it's been a year now since you had actual face-to-face teaching and the course was as it should be. And yet you're still paying over £9,000 a year in fees.
yes,
And that
yeah,
doesn't include your accommodation. So the government has given no direct financial aid to university students in England or to universities. And there was a petition, as there's always been petitions, and it was debated in Parliament in November. I'm just going to read out actually a couple of bits. So the government recognises the challenges facing students and supports them in their desire to continue receiving the best possible learning experience from our higher education providers. And then it goes on to say, in deciding to keep charging full fees, universities want to ensure they can continue to deliver courses which are fit for purpose. Obviously, with practical courses, this isn't the case. And we are not considering a write-off of tuition fee loans. It then goes on to say that if students are unhappy, they need to contact the university directly for a refund. Now, the only up-to-date information I could find was on tab.com, which is a student voice, and they say that there's only 1.6% of students that have claimed a refund have actually received one, and the ones that have received one, it's been relatively small. Now, this isn't just the course fees, obviously there's accommodation fees to take into account. Many students have been told not to come back to university at all this year, and Gavin Williamson is currently devising a plan to get students back into universities from March, but in the meantime they're also having to pay accommodation fees. So what has your university done to help you? Obviously we have written to claim some fees back. We haven't heard back yet, but it's early days for us. But in terms of practical help, what have you been offered, Kai?
Nothing at all.
The short answer.
If there has, it's not been very clear. There's been a lot of hypotheticals. So, just like even ignoring the financial side of things for a minute, because there has been nothing with the financial side other than them saying, oh, we'll make the hardship fund that we have the threshold a little bit smaller if you need that. But going through the hardship fund is really complicated anyway. And aside of that, in terms of what they're actually doing to help us, it's minimal. Since September, they've gone, we might do a no detriment policy so that our grades aren't impacted too much. But even now, we're hearing, yeah, we might do that. We're just figuring out still how that will work. And we finish the degree in like 2 months, and then it's over. Like it's too late. Like there's no certainty of how it will work. I think I've been quite, like I picked a course which I knew I'd be good at. So I've done quite well throughout without trying overly hard. Like I've managed to get 2 1s easily. Whereas this year I have tried twice as hard than I ever have before. And I've only managed to get a 50%.
I know that actually for one of your assignments you were marked down for the quality of your audio when you had to use your laptop audio because you couldn't access the equipment, which does seem a little bit unfair.
Yeah, like there's loads with the grading, and there doesn't seem to be much being done about that. And for the guidance that I've had for 2 of the modules, where I've sat and said this isn't official guidance, but we've been told we could probably get away with filming our daily walk if we're like secretive with it. But I mean,
not good advice.
For one, it's unsafe advice. It's irresponsible. But they'll give out fines for anything. So is the expectance from the university for me to go out and film on my daily walk and get a fine? Can I bill that to the university, or is that my fault for getting caught doing something they've told me to do?
Well, just add it to the rest of your debt.
It's ridiculous. Ignoring the student loan debt for a moment, I have to work part-time to be able to afford to be at university. And it's extra debts from being in an overdraft that gets piled up as well. There's so much more to it than just the government's loaning you £9,000, which some people argue is more of a tax. Like there's a lot more real-world debt for a lot of people, which doesn't ever get spoken about. Because people like to see, oh, it's students that have been given all this money for free to go and have a party. And it's not the way it is. And it's definitely not the way it's been this year.
There's certainly been no parties the last year for you. So our hope for you, Kai, was that you would be leaving university, as you said, in a couple of months, with a portfolio of all the things that you'd filmed in year 3, your most experienced year. To be able to take to studios, to try and get a job in media, in film, which you're so passionate about. You don't have any sort of portfolio, do you? You have nothing?
No. Realistically, nothing. Good report, I don't think. Because I don't have the ability to make something good enough to go, this is what I can do, here are my abilities. So it just feels like we're all a bit helpless, like we're now going to go out into the world with essentially nothing. And not only are we competing against everyone that's graduated this year, we're also going to be competing against everyone that graduated last year that didn't get the opportunity to. And I don't want to say the lecturers don't care, because some of them do, but it doesn't matter to them. next year this is just a fun anecdote to be like, oh, we're back in uni now, we're doing our lectures in person, this is strange. It's a job to them, whereas this is the start of the rest of our lives, and we're being left in such a vulnerable and unfair position.
I know. So career-wise, what do you think you do? I mean, for those of you do, and not just film, but all of you doing practical courses, but then hope to get into the industry that you're passionate about, it's not looking good, is it?
No, it's going to be near impossible, I reckon, to get into industry. It's so competitive anyway, and it's so difficult to get into a job in the area that you want to do, as it is. Whereas now we're going in with essentially nothing and such a limited skill set, and there doesn't seem to be much being done about that.
No. Okay, lastly, do you want to just touch on any mental health aspects? Because obviously you've had friends that are in student halls that were kind of essentially locked in and not able to leave their rooms at all. And now you have friends that are at home and not able to come back to campus, that are still paying rent. You're all very isolated, very lonely. Do you want to say anything about the effects on mental health? Because I know that the university, again, has not, in any of their newsletters, mentioned any sort of mental health support.
No, there's been very little talk of it at all. It doesn't seem like they're doing any extra things to set up like extra counselling meetings with anyone. What I found was appalling, really, was I had a friend that struggles with mental health, and he went through the uni for help with it in first and second year. So it's like the uni knows about it. This year, he got an email saying, you've not been showing up to your lectures, you might get kicked off the course if this doesn't change. Which I think is shocking, because he had been going to the lectures anyway, but they hadn't been registered properly. But I think if someone's not going to the lectures at the moment, it's probably a time to reach out and check someone's okay.
Yeah.
You should be seeing if someone mentally is fine, because it was something like there was an ambulance outside student accommodations every single day for a week because of student suicide. Mental health among students has plummeted this year. It's been bad for years anyway. And it's now we need that support more than ever. It's just not there.
Absolutely. So students, I think, are very much the forgotten voice in this pandemic. And if you're watching this and you're a student, I'd love to hear of your experiences. Please drop a comment. If you've managed to get any sort of refund, that would be great to hear as well. And if you're watching this and you can offer any practical advice, that would be very welcome, because I feel we're just a parent and a child shouting into the abyss at the moment, just trying to be heard. So thanks for watching and good luck, Kai.
Thanks.